Hey, what's up, bro? How you doing?
What's going on, man? I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, man. I thought I was going to make it a little more involved and maybe make a whole new. You know what? Give me a second. Take two. Cut that part out. Gabriel, Hodder, Primal Fear, my friend Gabe, he is here.
That might be our new intro song.
For like the last couple years, you and I have always just crossed paths in such a like a peripheral way.
Yeah.
Where we haven't had the opportunity to really get a face-to-face, like, and really converse, to get to know each other for any length of time. So what better way to make it part of a series here on Evolving with Corey Castle, where I want to make sure that you and your partners, who I know and I feel it and I see it, you guys are doing such big, great, fun, tremendous things, that I want to get to know every single thing about who you actually are. And that might be fun for folks who maybe don't know you yet either. Yeah.
And like you said, it's funny, like, we've always crossed paths, but like I don't think we've ever even been on like the same show.
No. It's been so peripheral. It's been ridiculously like arm's length. It should I want us to have a match together.
Yeah, right. We gotta get on a card. Someone's got to book it.
Book it, yo.
You got to tweet the little eye emoji.
The eye emoji. That's what gets us booked.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
All right, now I'm suspicious. So what? One of the things popping in my head about anything is in the business of show that we happen to find ourselves in. Anybody who's in it is somehow got some like look at me hole, some attention craving, like damage. What would you say yours is if you had to try to pinpoint it?
I don't know, man. I've always just been like loud and just, like in school, I was always getting in trouble for talking, and I always wanted the attention. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I always said like with my personality, I'm real loud and I'm brash, and people either hate me or love me. Like I'm not a person that someone's like, oh, that dude's all right. Like it's either like, oh, dude, he's great, or like, dude, I hate him.
Well, what was the home life like? What did you?
Pretty normal life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, I grew up in a wrestling family for sure. Like I tell people all the time, I was 2 years old maybe, and I was at WrestleMania when it was in Philly. Like, always been my life.
I was there too.
Yeah,
the WrestleMania 15.
Boss man got hung.
Yeah, I was there. I mean, I was quite older than 2 years old, but I was maybe, I don't know, maybe I was 14 or 15 or something. But that's really funny that we find ourselves at that same exact place.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, it's hilarious. I got a picture of me, and I'm sitting with the Godfather and Val Venus, and I was just like, if anyone questions how my life turned out, like, these are my role models. Like,
well, dude, what a fun combination of characters to find yourself in a photo with as a child.
I know, and I haven't come across either of them yet, and I would love to, and be like, look, here is you holding me while I'm an actual child.
How did it come across that you would get a photo with Val Venus and Godfather?
I guess it was at like WrestleMania Access, so I guess it was probably like the day before. I don't have any memory of it.
I remember on Shotgun, they had a Shotgun Saturday Night or something like that. They played clips from WrestleMania Access that was at the Philadelphia Convention Center. I remember seeing The Rock there and seeing Kane there, just on the recap thing that was happening on Shotgun.
Yeah, like I said, I have no recollection of being at WrestleMania. The only reason I know it is because I have pictures, but I don't remember it. But I mean, wrestling is just always something that's been like engraved in my brain.
You know, it's funny. At WrestleMania 15, right after the show was over, and we were all walking back to the parking lot. This like lady stopped us with a microphone that had like WrestleMania on it, and she was like, "Hey guys, tell us what you thought of WrestleMania. What was your favorite part?" And she held the microphone at us, and me and my friends were like, "Shawn Michaels!" Ah! We're going nuts. And my friend's dad was like, "The whole show was fucking awesome." and then the lady's like, "Okay, we're gonna have to redo that because that jerk off." Because that jerk off was saying, you can't say fucking. You can't. Now start all over again. The enthusiasm was so canned this second time. We were like, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin. But it made it on the TV. I know, at 14 or 15, I was on Shotgun Saturday Night with my friends.
Yeah, dude, to think about that, it's really so cool. How many wrestlers do you think were in the crowd that night?
Oh yeah, probably tons.
It's really cool to think about
ones that we know. Yeah.
Sometimes I think about that, maybe a kid is watching me wrestle and he's like, "Damn, I could do this." Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Yeah, dude. I think about the impressions all the time. I know, you've probably heard Danny say a ton about when it comes to the memories that we're creating for people.
Yeah.
But for me, I always feel that being from someone who came from the other side of the guardrail. And I told the story on here a million times. When I was 3 years old, my mom took me to SeaWorld, and there was this cowboy stunt show where the cowboys were having a shootout on this dude ranch, and the one cowboy who was my favorite character, I was like, oh, he's wearing the coolest stuff. I like that guy. He was on top of the saloon and he got shot off and he died. And I was like, oh, my favorite cowboy died. And I was crying. And my mom took me backstage and she introduced him to me, and I got a picture with the guy. And I can remember if I look at that picture now, it takes me right back to the memory of wow, I'm on the inside.
Yeah, it's really I tell people all the time, man, when I was still at the Monster Factory, and they're really big for their birthday parties. It's a big thing. And I tell people all the time, I had my 4th birthday party at the Monster Factory.
Really?
Yeah. And the day I walked back there, I was 19 years old and I started training there. And I would tell everyone this, it sounds corny and stuff, but man, shit can really come true for you. I used to tell these kids at the party, I was a kid just like you. I was here having my birthday party and it just never left me. I had
it's full circle. Yeah. So, do you have siblings? Were they also wrestling fans?
Yeah. It's really my whole family, my cousins, my uncle. I mean, there's pictures of us, at Christmas, and we're little kids and we all have DX shirts on and we're doing Suck It. And
did any of your family got into the business too?
No.
You were the only one?
Everyone, we always talked about it, when you're little kids and you're wrestling, and I was just the one that was I'm going to go for it. Why not?
No one in my family got into wrestling, but none of them were fans of wrestling. I was the only wrestling fan in my entire family.
Yeah, see, I couldn't imagine that, not being able to have that. To me, wrestling is a family bonding experience. We'd all sit and watch WrestleMania.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. It was really I was really born and bred into the position that I'm in.
Man, that's so cool. I'm jealous. I'm jealous, but at the same time, I couldn't imagine it being other way than the way it was for me.
Yeah, everything that happens, individually shapes us.
So, what outside of wrestling, what were the people that you looked at and you were like, I could do that. I see what they're doing and I'm inspired by it. What were the folks? What were the archetypes for you?
I don't know, man. That's a tough question. I always I'm very much especially in my family and stuff, individual. I was the only one that went to college. I was the only one that played football. My brother and my dad were baseball players. I played football. I went to college. I always my whole family. My dad owns a roofing business. My 2 brothers and my brother-in-law are roofers. I didn't want to go that route. I just did everything my own way.
Did you ever work as a roofer?
I did.
I was gonna say How could you? I was gonna say.
I did it all through high school, and I hated it. The only good thing about it was that I made a ton of money. I had way more money than any 15-year-old kid should have. Beer was on me every night.
At 15?
At 15.
All right, trouble.
Oh, big trouble.
Trouble. What about when did you decide to train? Like, and of course, like, there's always, like, as far as, because when I was 15, I was thinking about the paying for wrestling tuition. Like, that was my whole goal, was figuring out how I was going to pay for wrestling tuition.
Yeah, so when I graduated high school, I was supposed to go to college to play football. I had a scholarship, everything was all lined up, and I lasted approximately 3.5 hours at college. I didn't even unpack my bag, and I was like, dude, this isn't for me. I don't want to play football. I don't want to do this. So I went home the same day. And I was just sitting there, and I was like, all right, now I'm not a football player. Like, for the past 5 years, I've been a football player. What am I now? And I was like, I'm free. Like, I can do whatever I want. So, I spent some time thinking what I wanted to do. And I always knew about the Monster Factory. I knew I had my birthday party there. And one night, I'm just sitting on YouTube, and I come across Monster Factory videos, and I see Nick Camarado.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Nick. Nick went to the same high school as me. He was friends with my older brother.
Mm.
And that just really put it into perspective for me that, like, I know this kid. Mm-hmm. He's a wrestler. He went to where I went to. I can be a wrestler.
Okay.
And I was, as you said, the tuition is no joke for wrestling schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm an 18-year-old kid at community college with no job. I'm coaching football as a job, so I'm making no money.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the Monster Factory is having this special tryout. Win free tuition.
Oh, I remember that.
Yep. And
okay. I think I was there for that. For
the tryout that they did?
I mean, to see it. I don't know if I was like in it, but I think there was something. I think I had, like, got in the ring and was doing stuff with everybody when that was going on, because, like, that's when, like, Steve came through, right?
Yeah, he was there.
Tommy,
yep.
and who else? Mike Spanos.
Yeah, they were all around that time.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So I see this thing for this free tuition, and I'm like, damn, this is my sign. Like, I got to go for it. So I borrowed like $50 or whatever from my dad, and I PayPal to reserve my spot at the tryout. Now, the tryout's in like a month and a half. So I'm looking at this like, I'm going into training camp. Like, I entered like training. Like,
you're like, I'm winning this. This is,
yeah, like, I was running miles, like, getting in shape. I was like, dude, I'm going to kill this. I show up, and it is the most out of shape, like, 50-year-old men. Guys showed up in jeans and work boots, and I did the tryout, and obviously I'm a football player at the time, so, like, I'm in shape, I'm athletic, and I was like one of the 5 people picked to do the free tuition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of them 5, over the next like 8 months, 3 quit. So then there was 2 of us left. So I did like my free tuition for a year, and then Dan came up to me one day, and he was like, so, like, are you going to go for this? And I was like, I was on shows and stuff already, right? And I was like, yeah, what do you mean? He was like, all right, like, you got to start paying your tuition. And, like, at that time, I was older, I had a job and stuff. So, like, that wasn't a problem. But, like, it wasn't even a question. Like, when he was like, are you sticking around? I was like, well, yeah, I just dedicated the last 9 months. I didn't miss one practice. I didn't miss one birthday party. I didn't miss one show. I lived at the Monster Factory for the first year of my training.
Mm-hmm. So the work ethic that you have, that you got. So, I mean, Do you think that maybe that was like maybe in question by Dan at that point? Like maybe it was like
I think he was just
you thought you
so
were
many people at that time just came and go. Like, you know, they would
Oh
just come
yeah.
and go.
Mm-hmm. We'll give you a minute. Welcome back.
Am I good now?
Yeah.
Man, I was nervous.
We were froze for a second. Things happen. This is the world we're living in.
Got called on the fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was just used to, you know, so many people were screwing him over and coming, training for a little bit and quitting, and then, you know, going to wrestle in like these backyard federations. And like, I think he was just trying to make sure like I was committed before, you know, we really went for it.
You know what's weird to me? Like I started thinking about like how much I'd like to have my own wrestling ring and have my own wrestling school. And it's funny because I was talking to the guy who owns my gym, and he was talking to me about like he was like, "Oh, write up like a business proposal, and we'll see like what we can do. Like we'll get this all started and stuff." And I'm like, he's like, "You think it'll make a lot of money?" And I'm like, yeah, yeah, totally. But like, nah, probably not.
I mean, I think there's definitely potential for a wrestling school to make a lot of money.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like this area is too poor.
You definitely got to deal with a lot of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some people that, you know, just think they can walk in and be wrestlers and it's easy. But I don't know. I would like to eventually maybe open up a school one day.
Gabe, how old are you?
I'm 26.
So 26. So you were 2 in 98, right?
2, like 3.
Uh-huh. What was like growing up like for you? Like I mean, because okay, for me, 9/11 happened when I was a senior in high school.
Yeah, I was in kindergarten.
Yeah, so being such a little kid and that like earth-shattering event happening, how does that mold you as a young kid? And what is like your outlook on the world?
I mean, my outlook on the world is pretty terrible. I don't think it's from 9/11 though. I feel like I was a little too young for that.
Yeah.
Like you don't really understand. Like I remember the day. I remember everybody crying and like being panicked. But like you don't really fully at that age understand like the severity of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, pretty normal life. You know, I'm very middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Played sports my whole life. Was always an athlete. Got pretty good grades. I went to private school my whole life.
You know what I thought was real cool was I knew you like I said I knew you for a while peripherally, and then I saw you with Primal Fear. I saw you with Manny and Matt, and I was like perfect. That's a perfect match. Like it looked like puzzle pieces fitting together.
And I wasn't originally with them.
Right. So then when I first saw them, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I saw you with them, and I was like, oh, look, this is rad. I like this.
Yeah, it was crazy because they had another third member for a while.
Mm-hmm. Was that
his name was Chris?
Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm familiar with that era.
He wasn't there for too long, but he was. They were the original 3 in Primal Fear, and then I was going to join, and there was going to be 4 of us. And originally it was going to be like I was a single guy, Matt and Manny were going to be the tag team, and then the other guy would do singles too. But like we would be one unit. Right. He quit wrestling like right before I joined. And then it was funny because what ended up happening is me and Matt primarily became the tag team, and Manny went on to do the singles. So everything kind of flipped, but the whole idea for that was Damian Priest's idea.
Oh, okay.
he knew me a little bit. We went to the same gym, and like we were friendly. We would talk a lot. Sometimes we would go out, and
Wasn't
he
he kind of
knew.
the coach there at that point? Like
Yeah, he was the
the main
coach,
coach.
and
Mm-hmm.
he knew me just by knowing me. He knew I liked like the darker like wrestling gimmicks, like the Undertaker, Bray Wyatt. And at the time, I was just this boring ass baby face that wore bright white boots and teal sparkly tights, and I had no character, and I did arm drags and drop kicks, and I was just this
Well,
boring.
that's everybody's favorite. Everybody's favorite babyface is the boring,
Like
sparkly tights and white boots.
I was just going to go nowhere. And one time at training, he grabbed me, and he was just like, "Hey, do you want to join Primal Fear?" And I was like, "Well, I don't want to step on any toes. Like, are they cool with it?" Like, and he was like, "Oh no, we talked to them already. Like, they're all about it." And then all of a sudden, I was like, "Well, shit! Now I got to learn how to wrestle a tag match. I barely know how to wrestle a singles match."
Well, I mean, having a character like that kind of thrust upon you, and it's kind of like diving into the deep end, right?
Oh, it was big time thrust upon me. About
yeah.
10 minutes before my first match, debuting as Gabriel, I had my tights on. I was ready to go. And Damien looks at me and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "You look like you." And I was like, who am I supposed to look like? And he goes, "Go outside and rub dirt all over your face." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "You can't just go out there looking like you. Like you just wrestled a week ago. You look no different."
Right.
And I literally went out back of the Monster Factory and just got a bunch of dirt and just smeared it on my face. And that eventually became the genesis to me wearing face paint. But it started out as me being told I can't look like me and rubbing a bunch of dirt on my face.
There you go. I'm gonna start rubbing dirt on my. But then, does it get in your mouth?
Oh,
does
it was terrible.
Oh,
it came off immediately because
it's got to be gross.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It's just a big old gesture of effort.
Yeah, and then after that, being I'm still in college at the time, delivering pizza, paying wrestling tuition, so I have no money, and now I got to start buying face paint. Well, I can't afford the face paint, so I was using football eye black.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I used to be able to just pocket that at the stores. It was really easy, so I wasn't paying for it.
But that was what I was going to pitch. I was going to pitch that idea to you. Just put it in your pocket and walk out.
It was really easy to walk out with. So I wore that for a while, and then literally the biggest stars, at the time, our biggest match, me and Matt are wrestling Mario and Fala, who were the tag champs at the factory, and they're both on Impact at the time, and like, at that point, they're the biggest stars I've come across. Mario has this beautiful white robe. So we wrestle, blah, blah, blah. He comes up to me the next week and he goes, "I can't get your face paint off of my robe." And I was just like, "What?" And he was like, "Your face paint ruined my robe and I've washed it and it won't come off and it's just stained it." And I was just like, "Oh my God." And it like traumatized me. I was like, "Oh, now I can't wear eye black anymore."
Oh yeah. Dude. I got these white kick pads, right? And I'm sure you've probably seen me with them before. But like the first week I wore them, it was I forget the show, but I was on like second or third. The guy who was on the first match decided to do like a Muda mist spot. I'm like, "You're in the first match. Why are you doing a Muda mist spot?" And like, I was freaked out by the weird, like, he like put it all in a condom and put the condom in his mouth. I was like, "Is that how you do it? Is that how you do it? I don't know." But I was like, yuck. And then I got green shit all over my kick pad. I was super freaked out and pretty pissed off.
Have you ever been missed it in a match?
No, I did the
really weird experience.
Does it come from a condom?
I don't know where it came from, but it, number one, hurt me really bad because it washed all my face paint off and it all got into my eyes.
Yeah.
So like I was blind, but like a similar story at the time, you know, we don't really got merch yet. And I have like this 1 of 1 Primal Fear white tank top. So cool. I love that tank top. And I have my face paint on and we're doing like a segment and I get misted. So not only does it get in my eyes, it ruins my white tank top. Broke my heart.
I've done the fireball gimmick. Like, I've taken that.
That's gnarly.
I've never done the mist before, but you know, talk about missed opportunities.
Got to get the thumbs out for that.
Maybe one day. Maybe
interesting. I also have my mouth open, so like it got my mouth.
Yeah, that's got to be
That's
unpleasant.
happened to me twice. One time LSG took someone's beer and spit it at me, and I happened to have my mouth open.
Ew.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yes, I think rule number 1 for getting stuff spit in your face is close your mouth.
Yeah. And I never do.
You're like,
I'm always like, oh no.
Go ahead and miss me. Throw stuff in my face. I've got my mouth open. It's fine.
2 for 2.
Yeah. Did you ever wrestle Rebel?
No.
Did you know Rebel?
No.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah, kind of. I'm pretty familiar.
We did a tag match with me and my friend Rick. We were a tag team called we were called KFC for a minute. We worked in the Lehigh Valley, which was like run by Bill Daly, you know, Benchmark Bill.
Yeah, I remember him.
And he put us in a tag match against Rebel and Eddie Valentine, and Rebel he's such an asshole. I mean, I'm sure you've heard so many stories about. I'm sure you've heard stories about how much of an asshole that guy was, but he was like, you know Eddie's gay, right? Eddie Valentine. Eddie Valentine shows up to the show with his husband, and Rebel's like, I'm not doing any fucking gay spots in this match. Like, the second he walks in the door, like, we're doing a tag match, but I'm not doing any fucking gay spots. And then he, whatever we're doing in the match, somehow, like, I pulled my groin in the middle of the match, but he kept still trying to throw me off the ropes, and I was, like, limping, trying to go. And then he like, does the flash paper shit right in my face. But, I mean, like, I knew it was coming, but I was still, like, hobbling around.
Prepared, yeah.
But I didn't have my mouth open.
No, that could have been real bad.
Yeah.
You could have ate some fire.
Could have ate some fire. But it's funny to see, like, I mean, the guy was an asshole and universally disliked. But, like, at moments in my career, the guy's kind of been there for me and reached out to me when, like, other people weren't reaching out to me, and, like, talking. Like, it's funny because, like, he kind of put me in positions where, like, I've met some life-changing friends thanks to him, and I've, like, done some life-changing things because of him. But then the guy murdered his wife and killed himself, like, and their fucking 12-year-old twins found their dead bodies. Like, that's some monster shit. Yeah,
it's really crazy, man. Like, you really never know what people are, like, really, really like.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, I like, this guy, he's dead, and it's a confusing, like, way to, how do you mourn somebody and not mourn them at the same time because of them being such a monster.
Yeah.
But acknowledge that those experiences were what they were, I guess. I don't know what other way to put it.
Yeah, it's like you say, you never really know how people truly are when they're alone.
Yeah, I just feel bad for those kids like all the time. I can't imagine them having healthy lives after that situation.
Yeah, that's stuff that, it's really crazy. Like, that's the kind of stuff you see on the news and you're like, man, that's wild. But then, like, when you know the people, it's really next level.
But I mean, it's like the Philly Indies Chris Benoit sort of situation.
Yeah, no, it's really very similar to that.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like with Chris Benoit, like they're trying to say you separate the person from the art. Great wrestler, great wrestler. Just terrible human.
Yeah. It's like, how do you compartmentalize those things? In your experiences, what do you think happens to people when they die?
Man, death freaks me out. Like, probably more than the average human. Because that's the thing. I have no idea. Like, I don't even have the slightest thought of what happens. My biggest fear is that it's nothing.
Well, why do you fear that?
I don't know. Just the idea of that freaks me out.
That seems a little more peaceful.
I don't think I would want peaceful.
Well, what do you want instead?
I don't know. I would like to be, if I got an option, I would be a ghost.
Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't want to be a ghost?
That should be the new question I ask somebody. What would ideally the best situation be for an afterlife for you? Yeah,
100%.
Ghost? What kind? I mean, you got to think. You've been alive for 26 years. You're going to be a ghost forever. Like,
it's really funny you say that because very embarrassingly, me and my girlfriend just watched the entire Twilight series because I've never seen them, and I was held against my will and made to watch them.
I've never seen them either.
But like the main theme of it is like, would you want to live forever and like watch everyone around you like die and But like to me, it's like, oh, 100%. I would, if I had the choice, yes, I would live forever.
Like.
Like, I just could never see myself, like, people are like, oh, like, wouldn't you get bored? Like, no. Absolutely not. I don't want to die ever.
Did you ever see the movie Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby?
No. But I don't think I want to be a ghost dad.
This is so stupid. It's definitely, like, just when you get a chance, go on YouTube, look up the trailer to Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby.
It sounds great.
It's so stupid. It's like the movie Ghost,
but with your dad.
But with Bill Cosby, and he's a dad. Like all the same shit, like concentrate real hard and you can pick this thing up. Like all that same shit, like the thing with the train and all that stuff that's in Ghost. They kind of do all that same exact stuff in Ghost Dad, but he's like, "Whoa, got to prevent this guy from trying to bang my daughter." Ah!
As a ghost, Bill Cosby.
Yeah, it's like I would hate to see her on Quaaludes. So, I just want to make sure. I don't know if I stated it, but how grateful I am for you carving out some of your time, some of the effort, some of the currency of your effort spent here on me here today, and I wanted to say on the record how grateful I am and how much I really want us to be friends. I would really like for us to have a relationship where we can work together and we can have some matches and stuff. That'll be fun, and I just wanted to state it for the record right now so that we can look back on this in 6-7 months and be like, oh wow, you know what? Why did we wait so long?
Yeah,
why did we wait so long?
It's true. But like you said, honestly, I think that's something that's missing in today's pro wrestling that I feel like back in like the territory days was like a thing, like a real sense of just like a group of guys that, you know, did work together and went out of their way to work together. And like, I think that would be cool. Like, I would love to get a group of guys, you know, and everyone ride to the show together and work the show together and go out after. Like, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. It's funny because sometimes you'll talk to people, and the weird thing is I'm like the old guy in every locker room I'm in. But there are definitely like older dudes, but aren't like it just feels like they're like a generation before me.
Yeah.
And even if people are around my age, it somehow feels like they're still a generation before me. Like I'm somehow caught in this like limbo of like I'm not a young guy but not an old guy, and it's a weird, you know, ghost dad living.
Yeah.
I'm a ghost dad right now.
Pro wrestling's ghost dad.
Pro wrestling ghost dad. That's me. But when you talk to people, like when I talk to people in the business and we talk about like, you know, crashing on couches and coming by and like the brotherhood, and they're like, yeah, that's the way it should be. That's the way it should. And everybody says that's the way it should be, but then it isn't that way.
Yeah, no one ever goes through it. And, you know, I don't really know what it is. I don't know if everybody. I think there's another really big issue, and this is something we always talk about, with a lot of people like afraid to lose their spots at places, so they don't want to bring someone else in.
Oh, yeah.
But like when in reality, if you bring someone in who's just as good as you or a little bit better or whatever, that just means better matches for you. And then that means more fans. And then that's just better business. Like people would rather not do business than because they're so afraid to lose their spots at their little local indie feds.
Well, that's kind of ridiculous. You know, it's really funny because I don't have many spots, so I'm not afraid to lose them. You know, so anywhere I'm at, I'd want to bring you in. But you've already been to DCW. That's the only spot I got right now. But I know that you guys have already been there.
Yeah, but you know, like it's just like, you know, kind of going back to what I was saying before about like everybody being boys and going out and stuff. Like if you just get a crew, man, you guys can just, you know, you loop these little indie shows and you got a little thing going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you know, it's weird. It's like I lost my like every single weekend having multiple dates in a weekend, like drive, like that kind of went away.
Yeah. And
I'm filling my bump card up and I'm paying to play. And I'd rather make money working a job.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, you know. I'm fortunate that I don't have a job where I have to miss work.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least not often. So I'm very aware of that in other people, you know. I think about that sometimes. You know, a lot of people work Friday and Saturday nights, and that's big money nights for them, and they're out here wrestling for probably 3 times less than what they would have made at work.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, like I'm a server at Fridays now, right? So I've been doing that for about 6 months now. Like a Friday or Saturday night, that's like so much more money than any wrestling show.
That's a lot of a lot of the people I'm around in wrestling are servers. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean, man. You lose your Fridays and Saturdays. It's
Well, I mean, that's like I said, I've never been a server before. I'm the server now. But before, I've always just worked a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 kind of gimmick. But nowadays, I'm just switching it up. I want to see what it's like. I like money. I want to make some of it.
Yeah, right. I want to make some money wrestling.
Yeah, I would really like that too. Like I've dedicated the last 23 years of my life to the wrestling business, and I'd hope at one point I could make a living out of it. Eventually, I don't know. That's not what happened.
It's-
I might be too old now. I'm 38 now.
Yeah, you never know. Though. Look at what's his name. They always say Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, Diamond Dallas. He was 35. I've already got past when he got.
You ghost at it, Diamond Dallas Page.
I ghosted and got Diamond Dallas Page. You know I guess the whole, like, I think one of the Gerald Briscoe seminars, he was saying, like, oh, you're not gonna, if you're over 33, you're probably not getting it, and I at that point was 32 or something, and I already had brain surgery, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna.
I mean,
not
now though with WWE,
right?
It said no one under 25.
Yeah, now it's
26. That makes me feel like I'm 70.
Yeah, same.
I'm too old for some. I'm like, what? What do you mean? I still think I'm a little kid.
Yeah, I know, like, and normally, right where you're at, right at the age range you're at, and the experience range that you're at, you're just peaking. You're just peaking. You're like not all the way at the peak, but you're right near it. You're right near that peak. I feel that the same with me. I'm feeling like I'm watching Al Snow shoot interviews. I've heard him say, like, experience is the best teacher. I've had tons of it now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to have more and more of it. And the more and more of it I have, the better and better I feel like I'll get. So it's just a weird thin line. This weird thin line between, like, the judgment versus the investment that they can put in you.
Yeah. And it's just so funny, though, because it's like they always say, you never know. Whoever, you
Mm-hmm.
could. I always think about, what Danny used to say is, like, you could quit, and then that next Saturday could have been your big break. Like,
right.
You just never know.
Yeah. I think about that all the time. And I mean, I've probably said it on the show before, and you might have heard me say it before, but it's like, I will never be bitter about not doing something bigger in wrestling without because everything I am, everything I'm grateful for, everything I have because of the lessons I learned through being in the sport. So, what are dues if you're not paying them?
Yeah. And I mean, for me personally, like, obviously, I'm not anywhere near the goals that I want for myself, but, like, if something were to ever happen and, like, I had to stop wrestling or whatever, like, I feel like I did enough that, like, I wouldn't ever be upset about it. I've been granted so many opportunities and met so many incredible people and have been so many incredible places. Like, I can never look back and be bitter, no matter what.
Well, you think about that 2-year-old kid who had the Monster Factory birthday party.
Like,
yeah.
I can tell people I had a championship wrestling match on TV. Like, on TV. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's dude, many of the places you've been, nobody will ever be there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So no matter what happens, like, I could never be bitter about wrestling. I'm
right.
forever grateful for it.
Yeah.
I got to fly to Orlando 2 months ago to
right.
wrestle. Like, that was crazy to me.
Yeah, it's really humbling,
Yeah, that's for sure. That's a really good word. It is.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes where, like, I'm in a ring and I'm mad, I maybe don't feel like being there or whatever, and I can just stop and look and just be like, dude, this is what you used to pretend you were doing when you were jumping on the trampoline. Like, you're doing it. Like, be grateful.
Oh, dude, tell me if you're the same in this, because of my markdom as a child. I used to put elbow pads on and stand in the mirror, like. Sometimes I'd, like, put masking tape on or something. Like, sometimes I'd tape up with
pretend. Dude, I would play music and march around my room, pretend I was making my entrance.
Right.
You couldn't tell me nothing, dude. I was on WrestleMania.
I used to go to indie shows around here when I was like 12 and 13, and I would picture myself inside that venue and, like, seeing that crowd react. And it's funny because I'd idolize these dudes who worked these shows, but, like, now looking back on it, I'm like, oh man, I'm so much better now than the people I was trying to idolize as a child.
Yeah, and it's funny you said how like you used to go to indie shows
Mm-hmm.
because before I started wrestling, I had no idea any wrestling existed that wasn't WWE.
Mm.
Like,
What kind of shell shock was that when you learned
was
about?
insane when I was like, what do you mean? Like there's wrestling like down the street from me? Like what do you mean? Like literally all I knew was WWE. And like obviously like I knew Impact because like Jeff Hardy was there and like
Mm-hmm.
but like when I was like training and people were like, oh, like let's go do ring crew at ROH. I was like, well, what is ROH? Like what? It was like a whole new world to me. I felt like I was very behind the 8 ball.
Dude, like your fingers were far from the pulse.
I had no idea
of what the heartbeat of this business is.
Yeah.
And now you get to be a part of the heartbeat of this business.
And and it's funny, it puts it into perspective. I was just talking to someone at the gym the other day, and they were like, "Oh, what are you doing this weekend?" And I was like, "Oh, I got a show at blah blah blah," and they were like, "I don't know what that means." And like it flipped the switch in my brain that I was like, "Oh yeah, like indie wrestling is such its own world. Like not everybody knows. Like
most people don't know what it is."
It was so funny. He was like, "I don't know what that means," and I was I forgot. Like not everybody is an indie wrestler.
But most of the stuff I'm into, most people don't know anything about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I think I talk about, like, if I go, hey, like, what podcasts do you listen to? People are like, what are podcasts? I don't know. Like, how do you not know about podcasts?
Yeah.
Like, so at the same time, while I'm like, oh, I'm just continuously, that's why I have this drum. I'm hitting the drum. You know what I mean? Being consistent, being persistent in my message. I'm going, oh, there is a majority of people that I know that don't know anything about any of the things I like.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's really funny because, like, I have a group of friends that there's probably like 8 of us, and like they're like my best friends. Like we all played football together in high school. Like we all stayed close, and like none of them know anything about wrestling. Like 2 of them are like wrestling fans, like WWE fans, but like casual WWE fans. But like it's so funny, like sometimes when I talk to them about things, and I'm just like, you have no idea what any of this means.
Have you introduced any of your wrestling fan friends to AEW?
Yeah, some of them they watch, you know, some of them keep up. Honestly, a huge person that's right now killing it, bringing casual people into the wrestling world is Pat McAfee.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a few of my friends in the wrestling.
Wow.
That like, I mean, you know, listen to his podcast and enjoy him.
He's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. I think what he's doing is amazing.
Well, it seems because he seems unlike anybody else who's doing it, because everybody else who's doing it seems like they're being fed what to say all the time. And he feels like he's marching to the beat of his own drum.
Yeah, he's definitely, and like that's why he's so organic and like he's great.
So I think, you know, when it comes to like being a wrestling fan, as far as like I told you my family is not a wrestling fan in the bunch. But I've been showing my brother AEW with me like every week, having him come over here and sit in the living room and watch Dynamite with me, and he's becoming a fan.
Yeah, it's a cool process to introduce people to wrestling. Like my girlfriend right now, before we started dating, never watched 1 millisecond of wrestling in her life. Like had no idea what it was. And she's slowly starting to get it. She's been coming to some indie shows with me. She's been watching. She's been hanging out. We watch wrestling sometimes. I got her watching Total Divas, which was like, that was the key to get her interested.
No, my mom watches that.
It's a great show. And like, it's cool to see like light bulbs start to go off in her head. Like, oh, I understand why that happened now. Like,
do you watch on HBO? There's a show called Righteous Gemstones.
No, my dad was just telling me to watch it.
The new season, the character that John Goodman plays was a pro wrestler back in like the 60s, and like the promoter had him like do like muscle work for him, and he would go like break thumbs, and then like the promoter's son visits him like when they're old, like nowadays, current times, and he's like, oh yeah, I should get into this Christian stuff. You get your gimmick, and then you never break kayfabe. I get it. Like, and my brother and I were watching that, and he's like, most people wouldn't understand that.
Yeah,
but he's like, I've heard you say these words my entire life, so it totally makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes I find myself, with my my civilian friends, and I'll be like, oh, I'll say like gimmick or like work or I say Mark a lot, and they're like, what? And like my best friend's name is Mark, so like it's extra confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my dad's name is Mark, so it gets confusing as well. I understand.
Yeah, I'm like, you're Mark, and he's like, yeah, that's my name.
I went to a diner after a Chikara show with John Dahmer and VJ Hyde and Niles, and DJ said to the waitress, he said, can you bring us lots of bread? We're really marks for bread. And I was like, this is the stupidest thing. Like, this lady's probably like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
Yeah, you do what with the bread?
But I never thought marks for bread is the stupidest thing, and my brain somehow goes always back to like civilians not understanding what the hell.
No, it's great. That was like one of the first things I said to my girlfriend. I was like, if I'm around like the guys I wrestle with, you're probably not going to understand what we're talking about a lot of the time.
It's funny, man. Like, there's certain matches that I'll show people that I'll be like, okay, if you weren't a wrestling fan, maybe this will do it for you. And I started with that Hangman Page Bryan Danielson match.
Man, I just watched that like 2 nights ago. That match was unbelievable.
And I was doing it before with the Sami Zayn Shinsuke Nakamura at the TakeOver in Houston.
Yeah, I like doing that. That's another thing me and my girlfriend worked out. We were trying like once a week. I was going to sit down and show her a wrestling match. Except the issue is she really, really doesn't like blood. And the first 2 matches, of course, I picked were fucking bloodbaths. And I was like,
you showed her like Necro Samoa Joe.
The first match I showed her was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, the like OG Hell in a Cell. And I forgot that. I mean, Shawn just gets his ass beat that match. Like, that's bleeding like crazy.
That I credit that match constantly to what made me decide I wanted to be a wrestler.
Well, so like that's like I really like have a strong connection to that match. Like I love the story and like that's what I was trying to like.
The debut of King.
I was like, like this guy is the asshole that keeps running his mouth and no one can shut him up. And I was like, the Undertaker's trying to shut him up, but he keeps running away from him. So now they're locked in a cage because he can't run away. And she just cannot get over the fact that this man's forehead was ripped apart.
What, dude? I remember as a kid being like, "What was it?" When Michaels like pushed the camera guy or something?
Yeah.
When he was on the steps and he said, "Get the fuck out of the way!" And I was like, "He said a bad word."
Yeah, that was crazy. And then when I found out, that one wasn't planned. The one at Mind Games with Mankind. Planned that for him to throw down another cameraman. And like when I found that out, I was like, "Wow, he's great." Like I think Shawn Michaels is the best ever.
Yeah, it's kind of like the universal everybody's answer. The greatest of all time is Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how it can't be. I know that there's a lot of Bret Hart fans. But I think nobody can touch Shawn. No,
Bret Hart is Bret Hart. Bret Hart is good for what Bret Hart is, but Bret Hart isn't Shawn Michaels.
No, I feel the same way. I'm very passionate about that. I argue with a lot of people.
I mean, I love Bret Hart. I'm not taking away anything from how great Bret Hart is, but Bret Hart isn't Shawn Michaels. And I always said my top my top faves were Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels were like my top two favorite
Chris Jericho
wrestlers.
too. I don't know what it is. He is like another one that like he's a universal answer, man. He's so good and he's done so many different characters and all of them work every time. It's unbelievable.
Right. We want to learn a lesson about what the word over is? Watch Chris Jericho.
Yep.
That's
unbelievable.
That's a word I say a lot too. I say over a lot, and I'm always teaching people lessons about what over is.
Yeah, like, well, come on, you got to get over it.
Right. Yeah, well, like in comedy too. Like when I'm doing a joke, if it gets a pop, it's over. Like if it gets a laugh, that's a pop. And like those are words that probably not a lot of comics use. But at this point, so many comics are fans of pro wrestling, and will just. It's weird. Like I think that when AEW was in Philly, I saw like 30 of my comic friends from Philly all were there.
That's yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, that's pretty rad.
That's a funny story. That AEW show in Philly, we got to do the dark match.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell my girlfriend all the time, that was the first time she ever saw me wrestle. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, just so you know, it's not always like this. Like,
right, it's prestigious
at the absolute pinnacle.
Right.
Because then, like 2 weeks later, we were in a warehouse with like 3 people in it.
Yeah, the first time my girlfriend saw me wrestle, I won a belt. I'm like, yeah, you'll never see me. Like, this is just the exception. This is never.
I was like, really take this moment in because this isn't what it's like.
For sure, not comparable to a dark match on AEW. But what was it like in front of like that? How big was that audience? Was it way bigger audience than?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest we've ever performed in front of. The only thing I could think maybe bigger was Hammerstein with ROH. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, being from Philly, like, from Philly. Mm-hmm. Like
we were South Jersey, dude, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
That's what I mean. That's what I tell people. It's Philly.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So, like, being able to wrestle in Philadelphia was like, dude, this is. I took a picture with the Sixers mascot.
Oh wow!
He was backstage, and I freaked out. And Matt and Manny thought I was like chasing down like Sting. I was thinking like the fucking Sixers mascot. I ran like a little kid to ask if I could take a picture.
So, but I just want to feel what those pops feel like with that big of an audience. I think I experienced that in like 2001. So it's been a very long time.
Yeah,
so
it's great. It's really cool, man. And like my big thing I try to do, and I don't always do a great job of it, is to like, whether it's during my entrance or if I'm down selling, I'm always just like look around. Mm-hmm. Like really take this in. Like, because sometimes, you're out there and you're so in the zone and you're just worried about your match and you don't get a chance to appreciate, like,
dude, there's a song by Hoobastank, and I don't think it was one of their popular songs, but it's definitely
the reason.
No, it wasn't the reason, but it was called "We May Never Be Here Again," I think, or "Never Be Here Again" or something. But the words were, "Look around, take it in, enjoy this moment while we can, because we may never be here again." And I identify that a lot when it comes to big moments like that. When it comes to like cutting a promo and being over and like looking around and like getting the exact reactions that you want to get from people, or when it comes to like hearing the pop from your music. All that kind of stuff. It's always this might be the last time.
And it's really easy to take for granted because, like I said, I mean, I know me especially. I'm just like, all right, let's get through this match. Like, let's make sure everything goes good. And sometimes you just got to slow down and take a breath and look around and just be like I said, I always go back to that 4-year-old kid that had his birthday party at a place because it had a wrestling ring. Like, It's just.
Who were?
Really
do you
cool.
remember who the workers were that were at the factory?
I don't,
Then?
and I wish I did, because QT told me he would have been there at around that time. And
Yeah,
if QT did my birthday party, that's the funniest thing ever.
that is
I
pretty
do remember
hilarious.
being called into the ring, and they let me pin the guy like after the match. And I remember picking up his leg to hook his leg and being like, "Oh my god, this guy's leg weighs 400 pounds." It was like the hardest thing I've ever done. Also, a lot of kids didn't show up to that birthday party because you had to sign a waiver, and a lot of parents, I guess, weren't happy signing a waiver for their 5-year-old child.
We're not gonna not sue you if the kid gets hurt.
Yeah.
We want to sue you. So is there anything on the record, any questions that you have for me, anything you have observed of me that you want to tell me about? Now's your time.
I've been doing a fair amount of podcasts lately, and this is definitely like probably the most fun I've had on one. It's like,
yes,
I think you did a really good job of just not asking, when did you start training? Why did you wrestle? Who was your first match? What's your favorite match? Like, you could actually, like, I talked about things I've never got to talk about.
If I wanted to know that stuff, I could have probably listened to any other podcast that you've been on.
And that's that's really cool. You know, I appreciate that. I like go on these podcasts sometimes, and I try to steer the conversation just away from wrestling. Like, there's so much more to it.
Like, my goal is that this is my non-wrestling podcast. Yeah. I have a wrestling podcast. This is not that. The wrestling podcast is called Wrestle Rock. That's something I do with my friends, and we just talk about like current what's going on with wrestling, and like we have fun. We talk about it for like an hour, but it's always specific to what that week is and what the news is and what's going on. And like I was doing that for so many years. Like, we've been doing it for 6-7 years now, and when we first started doing it, not when we first started doing it, but when I first got the desire to start doing this, I would be like, the time limit would come up, and I'd be like, there was so much more I wanted to talk about. There was so much more about me I wanted people to know. There's so many more thoughts and opinions and views and beliefs that I've got that I wish I could get out, but I forget to say it all because it's only an hour and we got to talk about all the topics. So that's one of the reasons I started doing this.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Like, big time. I think it's really cool to, like you said, it's not a wrestling podcast, and it's just so different than what I've been doing.
Yeah. One of the other reasons I started the podcast, and I'll say that right now, I've said this a million times. A couple years ago, when I first started doing the show, I started doing this podcast in 2017. My mom had told me that she had saved these voicemail messages that were left from her mom and from her best friend. They left her voicemails. She saved them onto a CD. She burnt them onto a CD because she said, you know how like when people die, you forget what their voice sounds like? And I was like, I don't want that for me. Yeah. I don't want you to forget me. I don't want you to forget what my voice sounds like. I want you to hear the genuine, authentic me and hear like who I really was and what the messages were that I truly believed in. And another reason was I always wanted to write a book. I always wanted to have things on the record, but then I think about like how much I change as the years go by. If I wrote something and I published it, and then like 10 years from now, somebody reads it and it's got stuff in there I don't believe in anymore, then they go, what did you wrote this in here and this is gross. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that anymore. That was somebody else. That wasn't me. So I wanted to have the audio be the new literature. I wanted the podcast be the literature, so it can always be as changing as the seasons. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna just do a couple more quick segments with you, and then I'll send you off with a hot dog and a handshake, and right off into the sunset. All right. So with that stuff, like I said, being on the record, I do this segment that I call audio time travel. Right. So the people who care about you the most, the people who love you the most, your very best friends, are going to listen back to this podcast in 20 years. This stuff's outliving us. This stuff is forever. This on the record stuff. So, if you can, some sort of audio time travel. The messages that you're saying right now are going directly to the people who care the most about you. You know, your kids, if you have them, your parents, your siblings. What are you saying to them?
Man, hit me with a deep one. Just right now, man, I am genuinely at such a good place. I'm so genuinely happy every day right now, and I'm just really hoping to continue with everything personally and professionally, because my life right now is already so much more than I could have ever hoped for.
Any advice for them?
Buy my t-shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees.
turn your advice into plugs. I like it. But the way that we wrap up every week is I always tell the guests that hypothetically I've gifted you this show. So this has been the pilot episode for your new podcast, Evolving with Gabriel Hodder. And in a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way, you wrap up all the takeaways in a nice pretty bow and serve it back to the masses.
So what's my closing statement?
Yeah.
Big thing I've been saying, man, and I really mean it, is that if you're not rocking with me now or Primal Fear or what we're doing, right now is a good time to get on board, because I really think big things are going to happen this year. I really feel it. And I know the other two guys, they feel the same way. And Manny probably said the same thing in his interview.
Maybe.
But yeah. But yeah, seriously. And anyone who is already a fan, and I have people that reach out and message me and do buy my stuff, and it really means a lot. It's really cool, and I notice and appreciate every single one of you.
Awesome. So just want to say on the record to you right now, dude, if you ever are feeling like you need a friend or you need to talk, you need just judgment-free conversation, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I truly meant everything I've said to you. I would like us to be friends.
I was going to say, this is the beginning of our friendship.
Yes.
The world got to witness it. That's going to be an audio time capsule.
Audio time capsule, but the world got to witness.
January 18th.
2020.
Is the birth of a friendship.
2021, I mean. I said the wrong year.
2022.
2022. Yeah, I said the wrong year twice. I don't even know. Who knows? Who knows what year it even is?
It doesn't matter.
Dude, I want to say, dude, let that also extend to anyone who has paid me the currency of their effort and their time here on this show or any other episode of my show, or if you're listening to or subscribing to Wrestle Rock or watching any of my matches, if you're watching anything I'm ever doing and you're appreciating it, please let me know that you exist. Comment on something, like something, buy a t-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. Support Primal Fear, support the content creators.
Yeah, support everyone. Everyone. A lot of these indie guys, man, are out here hustling hard.
Gabe, do you do any impressions?
I don't.
No impressions.
I'm not very talented.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that one bit. I don't agree with the not talented. The doing impressions is a whole other thing. But what I've been having people do, whatever their best impression is, I'm saying, do that impression and say the wrap up line that I say. I always say, be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Man, what impression can I do?
I don't know. We maybe do like a Kermit the Frog or
What does it? Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Mm-hmm.
This is Batman. Christian Bale, Batman. Have fun, be safe, and keep evolving.
Do you think Batman has to specify the Christian Bale version?
Christian Bale, Batman.
Yes. Everybody, thank you so much for your time and effort. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Follow all the links in the description for all Gabe's information. Thanks so much for the investment of your effort and your time and your currency of your love. I love you so much. Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.